Hi students, how you doing? So we're going to refresh our memory on how to factor. So we're going to be talking about the greatest common factor, using the SMILE method when we talk about when we're factoring trinomials, and then also difference of squares. So the first one we're going to talk about is the greatest common factor. So if I ask you to factor out the GCF, we're going to look at the three terms here. We've got 15x squared negative 35x plus 5. We're going to say, well, what can we take out of all three terms? Well, right now I can factor out a 5. The x squared x and the 5 does not have an x, so therefore I can't take it out of x. So the only GCF I have here is going to be the 5. So when I factor out the 5, I'm going to be left with 3x squared minus 7x plus 1. Alright, my next one here. We take a look here. We got negative 24, negative 12, and 8. So 8's the smallest number. Can I take an 8 out of 24? Yes. Can I take an 8 out of 12? No. So therefore I can't take an 8 out. So then the next factor of 8 would be 4. Can I take a 4 out of 24? Yes. Can I take a 4 out of 12? Yes. And then notice that they all have an x in common, so I can factor out a 4x. So then I'm left with negative 6x squared minus 3x plus 2. Alright, so go ahead and pause the video, try this one by yourself, and then hit play when you're done. So we take a look at the 12 and 14. I can't take a 12 out of 14. So 6, nope, can't take a 6 out of 14. So then 3, nope, 2. So I can take a 2 out. I can also take an x, and then y to the 5th, y to the 8th. I can take a y to the 5th out. So then I'm left with 6x, oops, no y, minus 7y to the 3rd. Alright, good. So now let's talk about SMILE, factoring trinomials here. So we take a look here, we've got 6x squared minus x minus 15. So my factors of 6 are going to be 1 and 6, and we also have 2 and 3. Over here on 15, I've got 1 and 15, and I've got 3 and 5. So remember, when I SMILE, I want to get a negative 1, so that's my goal. So I got to figure out, okay, well, what combinations is going to give me a negative 1? So when I set this up here, I'm going to start with 2 and 3. So I'm going to put the 3x here, I'm going to put the 2x here. And then I got to figure out, okay, well, let's see here. What do I need to do here to get a negative 1? Well, 1 and 15, I know if I multiply 3 or 2 by 15, that's going to be at least 30. So that's going to be pretty high. So I'm going to try 3 and 5. Alright, so remember, since our c value is negative, that means my signs have to be opposite. So I'm going to put the negative 3 here, I'm going to put the positive 5 here, and let's check it. So that's going to give me 15, that's going to give me negative 6, which gives me 9, not negative 1. Okay, so let's switch them. Let's put the 5 over here, and we'll put the 3 over here. So that's going to give me positive 9, that's going to give me negative 10, which gives me negative 1, which is what I want. So there's my factor. Alright, take a look at this one here. So my a value is 1, so when I set my skeleton, I know I'm going to have a 1x and then a 1x. C value sign is negative, so that means my signs are opposite, 1 positive, 1 negative. And now 6, you've got 1 and 6, and you got 2 and 3. Now really, both of those will give us negative 5. But to use 2 and 3, it would have to be negative 2 minus 3. So both of them would have to be negative, and that's not the case. So it has to be 1 and 6. So we'd have to have a positive 1 and a negative 6. So again, when I SMILE, it gives you a negative 6. That gives you a positive 1, which gives you negative 5. So this is the only combination that will work. Alright, over here, let's see if we can take out a GCF. We can't. So therefore we got, okay, 8, you've got 1 and 8, and you've also got 2 and 4. 3, well, you've got 1 and 3 are the only options. C value sign is positive, so that tells me both my signs, or whatever my B value is, so both my signs are going to be positive. So when I set up my skeleton, I know they're both going to be positive. Now let's think about this. I want to get a 25. So if I use 1 and 8, I know 1 times 1 is 1, 8 times 1 is 8, but 8 times 3 is 24. Remember, I want to get 25, so 24 is really close to 25. So I'm going to put the 8x here, and the 3 over here, because I know when I smile, that's going to give me 24. So therefore, I'd have to put the 1 here, the x here, which gives me 1, which gives me my 25. Okay, so now difference of squares. So now this is a 1, whoops, sorry about that. Let's try that again. This is a 1x squared, so difference of squares, if I take the square root of this, that gives me a 1x and a 1x. C value sign is negative, so that means my signs are opposites. Square root of 16 gives you 4. So I got x plus 4, x minus 4. Boom, done. Now, if we notice here,
just as a reminder, if you are riding the fan bus to Seymour tomorrow, you'll need to park on the south side of the Alternative Academy. Bus pickup is going to be at door number 3. Thank you.
Sorry about that. This is a plus sign. Remember, this is difference, which means minus. So this is not a difference because this is a plus sign. So this is not a difference, so therefore this cannot be factored. Well, for difference of squares, this cannot be factored regardless. Okay, over here, we do have a minus sign, so we know it's a difference. Let's see here. Square root of 36 is 6, so I've got a 6x, 6x. C value sign is negative, so opposite signs. Square root of 49 gives you 7. Okay, putting it all together. So here, see if we take out a GCF, and we can take out a 3x. So when I factor out a 3x, I'm left with x squared plus x minus 20. And let's see if this can still be factored. So I got my 3x in front, my new a value is 1, so I got the 1x here, 1x here. C value sign is negative, so signs are opposite. 20, well, you got 1 and 20, you got 2 and 10, and you got 4 and 5. We want to get a positive 1, so 4 and 5 will give us a positive 1. A positive 5 minus 4 gives you the 1. Okay, here again we can take a 3 out. So then we're left with x squared minus 100. X squared minus 100 is our difference of squares. So we've got the 1x here, 1x here. C value sign is negative, so opposite signs. Square root of 100 is 10. Alright, here, see my smallest number is 10. I can't take a 10 out of 12. So then 5, can't take a 5 out of 12. So then 2, I can take a 2 out. So then I'm left with 25x squared minus 5x, and then minus 6. So then we see if we can still be factored. So 25 is 1 and 25, or 5 and 5. So I'll put the 5x here, put the 5x here. 6, well, you got 1 and 6, and you got 2 and 3. So if we try to do this here, we want to get a negative 5x. So let's see here, if I multiply, if I put this negative 3 over here, and I put this plus 2 here, that would give me a negative 15. That would give me a positive 10, which gives me my negative 5. And that's it for today. Good job.